today in Maharashtra. That's coming up next.
अब समय आया है वो जो फॉर्मूला तय हुआ था उसके ऊपर अमल करें।
अब हमारा स्ट्राइक रेट ये 70% है, 70% है।
Everybody thinks you should take up a ministry. Deputy Chief Minister, which one is it?
Whatever happens, I won't stop writing blogs for NDTV.
महाराष्ट्र की जनता की तरफ से हमें अच्छा सहयोग मिला।
हरियाणा की लोगों का धन्यवाद करता हूं।
सर, क्या कांग्रेस की आपकी बातचीत चल रही है क्या?
मेरी सिर्फ NDTV से बातचीत चल रही है, किसी और से नहीं।
जनता ने जो आशीर्वाद दिए हैं उनको भी बहुत बधाई देता हूं। आने वाले 5 वर्ष महाराष्ट्र के और हरियाणा के विकास की नई ऊंचाइयों को पार करने वाला कार्यकाल रहेगा।
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the way the results have panned out, because most of the results are in for both Maharashtra and Haryana. Taking a look at Maharashtra first, and you have, we've got the leads, but we could go to the results because now those matter more. We have most of the results in. Clearly, the BJP and the Shiv Sena are ahead there. The big story from Maharashtra has been the BJP's underperformance. They expected to do much better, hoping to form a government on their own. That hasn't happened. They are now heavily dependent on the Shiv Sena, which isn't, the best person to be dependent on actually. And they knew that for the last 5 years. So the Shiv Sena certainly making a lot of demands, Vasu,
Yes.
as this alliance unfolds and this government formation unfolds in Maharashtra. And then the Congress NCP breakup, also very interesting. That tells another story.
Yes, it does. I mean, both the sort of quote-unquote senior partners in Maharashtra have underperformed. It's actually the junior partners that have done better, and the Congress has now slipped to the ignominious 4th position in Maharashtra. A position, by the way, it's occupied in the past as well, so this is not new for the Congress. The only interesting twist in the tail left in Maharashtra is what is going to happen to the chief. Will it be Fadnavis again, or will the Shiv Sena once again trouble the BJP?
And insist, as has been suggested, on maybe a rotational chief ministership. So maybe they insist that they get support first.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Haryana as well before we move on to our panelists tonight. Almost all the results are out there. It's a hung assembly, clear to see. Probably, Vasu, if you had to hazard a guess, it looks like the BJP will be able to form the government there by tomorrow.
Yes, more than a guess. I think the BJP is home and dry. We had Mr. Huda on earlier, and being interviewed by our colleague Sunil Prabhu, and he pretty much seems to have given up the fight. He said that I'm waiting for these parties to approach, but I'm also a practical man. So I think the gap has now widened considerably. Earlier they were closer, but now the gap puts the BJP in a very comfortable position to form the government. And already, as we just saw there, independent MLAs are airborne in the private jet of a BJP MP.
Yes, they are, and the mandatory selfie has also been taken on that jet. Well, let's go across to Dr. Abhishek Singhvi of the Congress Party. Dr. Singhvi, your takeaways from this election, firstly for the Congress Party itself. Certainly a very decent performance in Haryana, all things considered, but I'm sure you can't be happy being 4th in Maharashtra at the end of the day.
I'm glad you used the word takeaway. I will answer certainly your specific question, but just step back and see the overall takeaways. Clearly, takeaway 1 is that across both Maharashtra and Haryana, and I repeat both of them, this is an anti-BJP vote. That's the most important single takeaway. Number two, it is a vote after the Prime Minister and Mr. Amit Shah have heavily campaigned up to the end in each of those two states and in many of the constituencies which have been decisively lost. Number three, I agree with you that the Congress really should be forming some kind of a coalition with someone else in Haryana, but unfortunately, as somebody quipped on the social media, I am saying in a lighter vein, the Dhanteras buying of utensils has been replaced by various other forms of buying. This is something which I have received on social media, it's not my original. But I think there is a group out there which has not been controlled. Otherwise, logically, the two single largest parties who are otherwise willing to make the government, namely the Congress and the JJP, should have made it. And I think there is a regret there. Fourthly and lastly, yes, we could have done and should have done better in Maharashtra, but let me tell you that overall the coalition result in Maharashtra is pretty good, much better than most people expected. They expected the BJP to do much better along with the Shiv Sena. And last but not the least, today the government in power in Maharashtra is actually a marriage of the ruling party there along with the principal opposition in Maharashtra, which is the name I give to the Shiv Sena. So this is a marriage of opposites in a coalition. And let me say that when you had this marriage in the last time around, you know how much of a broken marriage it was, not even in name a marriage. Well, this time I think you will have much more of that.
Okay. Abhishek Singhvi, you know, all that said, the fact is that you have managed to win about 35 odd seats in both these states with barely any effort. It was a leaderless campaign, it was an absent campaign on the ground. I mean, is this really how the Congress is going to practice its politics?
I would be less than candid, Srinivasan, if I did not accept that our problems from roughly June or end May till August would have had an indirect impact. Not a direct impact, but obviously the feeling of hope, energy, momentum, direction, speed does get affected. On the contrary, I would say that given that problem we've had overall in the immediate aftermath of the national election, for us nevertheless to have done what we have done in these two states is creditable. I have no doubt in saying that now that the elections are over, we will get this house in order, we must get it in order, and you will find a greater renewed commitment and energy towards that. We have been late in starting, but yes, we are going to carry on in the same direction with greater momentum.
Well, Abhishek Singhvi, you know, just one last question. What do you think the party's road ahead is then? Because clearly the arrangement with Sonia Gandhi was meant to be an interim one. She didn't campaign in these two state elections. The one campaign rally that she had in Haryana was cancelled. There is some speculation that the stage is being set for Rahul Gandhi to come back. Now, is that even a good idea? Is there another plan? What are you guys planning to do in the next few months, if you have an idea?
Look, Nidhi, I have been about as candid as I could be, and more than most people. I have written an article more than 2 weeks ago, published, where I have given 7-10 concrete 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 suggestions. I can do no more than remind you of it and repeat it if none of you have time. Yes, 2 are very clear. Now that the elections outside of the Congress are over, we must have an election process which is as wide-based, as genuine, as comprehensive as possible. Whoever stands, I personally believe that Rahul Gandhi, having decided a certain decision, should stand again, but whoever stands, then whoever is elected, that proper election alone will give strength and legitimacy. That's one of my 10 in that article. Second is drastic changes in certain bodies. I have named them there in the article. Persons, concepts, approaches, and you will see the difference if you start doing these things.
Right.
I have no doubt that the intentions are good and there. When and how they are implemented, I hope and trust time is not wasted.
Well, Abhishek, I just want to ask you in conclusion that there's always this inevitable sort of business about Rahul Gandhi, why didn't he lead from the front, why didn't he campaign more? But there's a counter factual also to that, that if you can actually do this much, even if you do a reasonably well performance without Rahul Gandhi, maybe that's a better deal for you. Don't have more of Rahul Gandhi, have less of Rahul Gandhi.
I can understand the anchor's fundamental right to be sarcastic. But
no, I'm not being sarcastic, by the way.
Like the way you are.
I'm not being sarcastic.
Let me tell you.
This is a serious question.
I know. I know it's a sarcastically serious question, and I'll give you a straight serious answer.
I'm not being sarcastic.
I am not thinking in the negative defeatist way, which is the premise of that question. I think on the contrary that, and now that's really looking back, Srinivasan, it's not something which is necessary to answer. Today you are in October, November, you must have an election finished. Whoever stands, you stand, I stand, Nidhi stands, whoever stands, they win or lose.
Yeah.
That if it is genuine and comprehensive, gives you legitimacy and strength, then all these arguments end.
Right.
That's what I've said, the first point. I've suggested changes in CWC, changes in general secretaries, but that is secondary.
Dr. Singhvi, is
why not have an election
and
then I think whoever
unless
wins,
you learn from what has happened in the past? And the question is the Congress willing to learn with what has gone wrong in the past? I mean, maybe you got lucky this time in Maharashtra and Haryana. It may not be that way for future state elections. Unless you get your act together.
See, lucky is a little unfair. I think it can't be that when you lose it is because of some bad work and winning is lucky. No, I think we have, it shows, let me put it differently. What you are really saying, let me capture it directly. It shows that there is a latent and in many parts a patent support for the Congress. Look, let me put it more clearly. There is a feeling that there is too much hubris and too much arrogance in the ruling party at the centre and the states. There is a spreading of a misinformation campaign of infallibility. We are to suffer the BJP till 2024, till 2029, till 2034, and that we are invincible. I think people react to this arrogance. People want to have an alternative, and therefore there is this latent and patent support for the Congress, but I equally accept that we have to be in a position to receive that support. And to the extent that our receptacles need repair and reinvention and replacement, I think we have to work towards that.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Abhishek Singhvi, thank you very much indeed for that. Yes.
I just want to say, what this election has done is that it's actually opened up the space of the opposition. I mean, there is an opposition vote out there. There is opposition space out there.
But
there is a crisis of leadership. If only the Congress had fought the election better, if only they had actually structured the campaign. And I also want to say, Srinivasan and Nidhi, that democracy is not one-party rule. It is rule of different parties. So I think what has happened in this election is that there's been a check and balance.
Right.
The opposition has risen in these states, and I also think that you can't go to a place which is facing waterlogging, which is having floods, which is having drought, and talk about Bharat Ratna for Savarkar.
Right.
Where is that demand now? So I mean, clearly there's a disjunction.
Yeah, if I may elaborate on that point. Remember, just a few days ago, before these extraordinary results today, we were talking about how competition has gone out of politics, how it's become such a boring exercise. We were really dreading today. Because it would be, just a walkover. We all thought it would be a walkover. And yeah, it was. Now, the point is, we thought it would be a walkover because the opposition didn't seem to turn out. But despite the opposition doing its almost utmost
to
lose, we've got these results today, which shows that the kind of disturbing disconnect which I was sensing between the raging issues of the day and electoral politics, that disconnect has not yet happened, that people are still reflecting, despite the fact that there is no leader. In Maharashtra, you have a very aged leader who's turning up. There's hardly any success.
Despite that, you're saying that they managed to.
But also just one very quick point. Also very quick point. No, one second. You know, also a limitation on the kuch bhi chalega politics. You know, the defections, money, agencies. There is a limitation to that politics.
Vivek, just on that point about whether this election will now lead the BJP to rethink the benefits of going with this hard so-called nationalism line that you keep ramming home, you know, even in state elections, Article 370, NRC, Citizenship Amendment Bill, Savarkar, Mandir. Is that, do you believe that now these issues have diminishing returns for you?
Well, I think.
And will there be a dialing down of this?
Vasu, I think these were issues that were forgotten by previous regimes. Nationalism as such, even to talk about nationalism was a big insult, was a big humiliation. I think we have passed from those days. We are really responding to what people of India want.
No, but do you feel that this is now becoming counterproductive for you?
Well, it is not counterproductive at all, because if BJP is responding to people's wishes, it is the people of India's yearnings. It is the craving of people of India that some sort of nationalism must be there.
But your results today don't reflect that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I don't think it has anything to do with that. If you look at Maharashtra, well, let us just analyze. If you look at Maharashtra,
I mean, you can. I'm only going by what the campaign was dominated.
No, let us analyze. If you look at Maharashtra, because some of the panelists feel that it is as if the opposition has won today.
No.
Has hammered home and crossed the dividing line, and BJP has lost. I mean, that's the way it's projected. It's very easy to do that.
You've lost 70 seats.
Very well.
70 seats.
Dorab at Maharashtra. There is a convincing victory. We have crossed the dividing line by about 19 seats.
Yes.
This is a phenomenal achievement. Of course, the opinion polls had projected something else, but we have crossed the dividing mark. And it is the people's. Where are the people?
So
the people are supporting BJP.
So whether it's Jharkhand coming up, Delhi coming up, you will continue to push NRC, infiltrators, Article 370, all of that.
Well, I think these are issues, Vasu. One second.
Okay. No, I'm just asking for yes or no.
No. These are issues which have to be put forward in order to make this nation better.
I think people are fed up of NRC, Article 370, Ram Mandir, Hindu, Muslim, Bharat, Pakistan and all those things, because for this purpose they have already given a mandate in our central elections that now the time is for choosing chief minister. They want that local issues should be discussed. We raised a very valid issue of unemployment. From 3%, it rose to 28%. Our young boys with MBA, MPhil, PhD degrees were getting a job of peons, Mali ka kaam kar rahe hain, and all those things are happening. Then we saw that what happened in Haryana when law and order failed, Chat agitation, Rampal case, Ram Rahim case, this all happened in this government.
If you take the other
and these are the local issues. People understand that if you want to talk about India, Pakistan, okay, we are ready, we want to give you a mandate, then you govern. But if you talk about in a village, in Haryana, if you're talking again and again on this, then voter is very smart.
But this could be, wait, hold on, Sagrika, 1 second. This could be a potential ally you're criticizing.
See, that is okay, but I'm telling
okay.
because on the national issues, we have supported BJP. But on the local issues, there is a differentiation which has to be marked.
You are talking as if BJP has not achieved anything on the development front.
No, but then why don't you talk about it?
Achievement.
But why doesn't the BJP
This is not an empty basket of achievement that we are coming to people with.
But then the BJP didn't speak about
that. This is one of the best micro deliveries in the world. The other parties before this used to eat up everything before it reached the people. But at least BJP is delivering.
No, now you've taken all those people.
Are you willing to accept, are you willing to accept that just the mere name of Mr. Narendra Modi is now not enough to defeat anti-incumbency? You've seen it in Chhattisgarh, we've seen it in Madhya Pradesh, we've seen it in Rajasthan, we're now seeing it in Haryana where you haven't won. You're in the lead, but you haven't won.
Sagarika,
so just, whipping up the Modi personality cult and nationalism is not going to defeat
let me tell you one
anti-incumbency.
thing. There is a direct answer to this. If BJP expects that only because of Modi it wants to win Maharashtra and Haryana, you are deeply mistaken. That is not the BJP's agenda. That is not the BJP's plank. The BJP's plank has been built on, if you have seen 5 years, the BJP's plank has been built on the core agenda of development. And we are forgetting that and talking about nationalism today. Well, nationalism is also
we
there.
are not forgetting.
We want to be proud of this nation.
Okay.
We want to be proud of this nation.
Let Amitabh come in.
I have a small question. You say you've done development. You have the right nationalist slogans. Why aren't you sweeping? Why haven't you swept today? If you have done development, you got the right nationalist.
Let me ask you a question.
But why?
Let me ask you a question. You are saying the economy is torn up. Then if the economy was really torn up, we should have been torn up.
Okay.
We are not torn up.
One second.
We are winning.
Okay. We have to move beyond Vivek versus the rest.
How can you rate winners as losers?
Amitabh.
I don't know if you really understood that we have won.
Just 2 points. 2 points I want to make. One is we are calling nationalist policies that are in fact partisan and sectarian, whether it's NRC targeting certain groups of Indian citizens, whether it's Article 370, which even if it's popular violates the constitution the way it was done. This is not nationalism, this is pseudo-nationalism. The second point I want to make is that if this great development agenda, you said that previous parties used to eat up the benefits unlike the BJP. So why is it that tens of crores of people exited poverty under the UPA and have slid into poverty under the NDA? Why is it that unemployment is at a 60+ year high? Joblessness, agrarian distress. This is not a record of development. This is a record of very poor performance, and we're beginning to see the impact in these state elections.
If you had not swallowed the 10 lakh crores from various camps, we would have seen more people coming out of poverty. The 10 lakh crores that you swallowed, where did it go?
So that means you swallowed 50 lakh crores because people are sliding into poverty.
Where did it go?
Vivek, I'm telling you ground reality. Haryana में कहावत है कहते हैं 16 दूनी 8, and now Haryana people are saying 75 दूनी 37 हमने कर दिया. That is what is happening on ground.
Well, the people
I'm telling you, we appreciate
we all have to get
together.
We all have to get together.
The stand on the Kashmir, the stand on Article 370, but on the ground it's a totally different picture.
There was a very good report in NDTV where the reporter went to the person in Haryana who said that we thoroughly approve of Article 370 and what the government has done, but we are not going to get a job in Kashmir. हम तो कश्मीर में नौकरी लेने के लिए नहीं जाएंगे.
लड़की
allow us to build
that
Kashmir.
I saw
it has
it on
commenced
NDTV.
now. Sagarika, wait, it's just been about 2 months. Allow us to build Kashmir, and then you will see. The old politics never gave scope for that.
Here's what's happening at the moment, that you have the entire opposition in Kashmir locked up, and you're holding block development elections there. This is what you are talking when you talk about building Kashmir. Let's just get that in perspective. Okay, let's go to Clyde Crasto of the NCP, who's joining us from Mumbai. Clyde Crasto, now of course some positives to take away for you from there, but again just coming back to the point that Vivek made, that one can't assume just because of the fact that the BJP's numbers have come down that they haven't won this fair and square, which they have. And to that extent, would you congratulate Devendra Fadnavis tonight for getting a second term?
Well, definitely. No, definitely. Congratulations are in the order. There's no doubt about that. There's no taking away that they've got a majority and they're going to form the next government. But the point that we've been trying to make here is, we didn't say it, nor did the people say. It's they who said that, 225 ke par or 145 ke par. They were the ones who went around town beating the drum, saying that we're going to
get Clyde, all parties do that.
The opposition will be decimated.
But all parties talk up numbers.
Like give me an instance. No, give me an instance that the numbers like these were thrown up before. Give me an instance. I mean, this is actually arrogance and overconfidence of a different level altogether. Even Mr. Fadnavis went on to say that the opposition will have a tally of 29 seats together and they'll be like completely washed out. So that is what the discussion has been going on throughout the day, that they went on with a lot of bravado and a lot of huge announcements that they made about getting these number of seats, but they've lost. They fought together. Last time around, they didn't fight together. They fought together. Despite that, they've got low numbers. So that is what it is. And there is a message. But I said in the morning.
Hold on, Clyde. Just a second. Regardless of what numbers they may have thrown out, the fact that they have won a second term, you would credit to what? Would you concede at least that there's been a reasonably good performance by the Chief Minister, by the government?
No, how is it a good performance? See, I'll tell you what, you and I have seen enough politics to know that change cannot happen overnight. Can a change happen overnight? Can somebody from whatever that tally was of more than 140 seats come down to 50? This doesn't happen. It's a process, and like Mr. Pawar said in his press conference today, the process of change has begun, and this is only going to get better for us.
Right.
So you wait and watch. While they were busy talking other things, people were busy trying to figure out what the problems were, and that's what we were doing, and that's what the people have voted for.
Mr. Nigam, just before you go, from your point of view, despite the win in Maharashtra, though, as you expressed earlier today, your concerns about sort of the path the BJP is taking nationally, across states, nationally as well, making the same mistakes as the Congress. You talked about how the morale of party cadre and workers is hit when you have this kind of mass poaching from other parties. What are the other issues, though, you think plague the party right now, apart from this?
I don't think there is any other issue.
This
is, in my opinion, one of the. It may have worked in the past, and probably the thinking was that it may work this time also. But it certainly appears that, especially the last-minute defectors who came in, somebody comes in between, ideologically thinking that he is shifted ideologically to BJP. It's fine. He's not there for the purpose of, contesting elections. But just these last-minute, people coming in.
That's the only problem, you think?
I think so. Otherwise, organizationally, it's perfectly all right.
Okay.
And especially, anti-incumbency would be there. Some amount of anti-incumbency would be there, which is very natural. But they have come back to power. And these two states were not traditionally BJP states. They were Congress states. And 2014, for the first time, they've come, and now they're coming back again in power. That is an achievement, in my opinion. And you look at Haryana.
You don't think it's a warning sign to the BJP?
No, strategically, yes.
Not on issues.
Not on issues. Certainly not on issues. They are very clear on their issues. It becomes a part of their manifesto. They take it to the people, and that on that they are very clear.
You don't think that the party leadership should have addressed the economic distress in their rallies?
So let me tell you, there are two aspects of it.
In Maharashtra, the PMC bank issue is a big issue.
No, it is fine.
You don't think that they should have given
there.
people a roadmap, say, on how more jobs would be created?
Let me answer. When the national leaders were addressing assemblies, they mostly touched on national issues. When the state leadership was addressing, they touched all local issues. In fact, for Mr. Fadnavis went on and specifically addressed the PMC issue also. So that distinction was there. It is not that the local issues were not addressed to, about jobs, economy and things like that.
Those are not just local issues. Those are basic issues now for everybody.
Yeah, but the fact is, they were concentrating on these two states as well. So national, obviously, Prime Minister has subsequently there are enough measures have been taken so far.
Is the economy not a national issue?
It is.
So should the Prime Minister not speak on it?
He has spoken about,
where?
Not in these elections, but certainly
That's
on
my point.
number. Yeah. See, the fact remains, these were state issues and national issues were intertwined in that, and they were addressed.
I'm not following, because the economy
all the issues.
Economic distress is a national issue, as it is.
No, it is
for
fine,
everybody.
but
and a state issue. It's an issue for everybody.
The steps have been already taken by the government of India. Those measures have been taken, and there may be more measures also. The global slowdown is there. It is affecting India. There is no doubt about it. But that gloom and doom scenario is not there. No,
so Pakistan will continue to be part of the election campaign in future also?
No, let me tell you, if Pakistan attacks you 2 days before the election, what should India do? Should it not respond and wait for the elections? Are you saying so?
No, I'm asking you that whether attacking Pakistan is the it will continue in the election rhetoric.
She's talking about attacking Pakistan militarily. She's saying repeatedly bringing up Pakistan.
See, let me tell you, if
in elections,
in an Indian
assembly
election.
elections,
if Pakistan attacks you and government of India responds appropriately and strongly, which is very natural, it will be a part of election, whether it is Congress or BJP.
Okay.
Any party who would be there and takes an appropriate action in response will obviously become a part of your election. There is nothing wrong in it.
Okay. All right. Deshat Nigam, thanks very much indeed. I believe you're on other studio duty, but thank you so much for being with us. Dorab, just one question though, that to the point Nidhi was asking about lessons for the BJP from this, that is there also somewhat of a governance deficit that the BJP now is facing, both at the center, where the economy is struggling, and there are legitimate concerns about economic management or mismanagement, and even at the states, because the performance of Mr. Khattar and Mr. Fadnavis, despite the BJP's claims otherwise, has not been great on hard, economic issues.
The economy, the the view that's being expressed is the whole country is down, so we are down and out. I don't think, frankly, the government, don't know about Haryana, but I don't think the government in Maharashtra is any worse than earlier governments.
Right.
So the question is, the economy is down, and I think it's just that I think there is too much. I think the media actually, all of us are subject to media, and the media seem to think nobody else has a chance. I mean, you read any newspaper and you find that it's going to be 200 plus for the BJP.
Right.
So those things are raising expectations, but I think the government in Maharashtra, at least, I don't know about Haryana, is as good or as bad as any other government. There's not much difference, but
Sure.
there is not, on the other hand, there is claims of superlative performance when you're on the ground. Also,
which are not quite measured up.
16,000 suicides.
I just want to bring up, because I realize we haven't come to this yet, which is the by-elections. I think our brains have melted being here since 7 in the morning. Can we just bring up the by-election graphics, because that is another big story that's playing out today, as you know, Vasu. 51 assembly by-elections today, 2 Lok Sabha seats.
Yes.
And let's talk about Satara first, Vasu. Why that seat has been so important, won by the NCP today in Maharashtra?
Well, that was actually a huge blow for the NCP when Udyanraje Bhonsle, who's their sitting MP in Satara, crossed over to the BJP just days before the election, and many believe that was just part of the kind of almost the death blow that the NCP had suffered in Western Maharashtra, which is its bastion, with a series of top Maratha leaders leaving. Udyanraje Bhonsle, of course, being a descendant of Shivaji, so in a sense he was this, top Maratha figure. But Sharad Pawar then took it very personally. He made it into almost a kind of personal prestige battle. He fielded Srinivasan Patil, who's an old NCP warhorse, who's in a state of semi-retirement. He's the governor of Mizoram. He'd given up active politics. And this gentleman has actually beaten
In fact, that
Udyanraje
picture
Bhonsle
of Sharad Pawar campaigning in the rain,
in Satara.
that was there, yeah.
Yes. So
that was a viral picture.
So contrast that, Nidhi, to the fact that Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi held rallies in Satara for Udyanraje Bhonsle. So you have Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi on one side, and you have 79-year-old Sharad Pawar campaigning in the rain, and so I think that was one of the big surprise wins of this.
The other Bhonsles turned it around.
Yeah,
yes.
the assembly by-elections.
Got the seat for the BJP from the NCP.
Yes, this is the cousin of Udyanraje, Shivendraje. He had also crossed over to the NCP, to the BJP. He's won his by-election
very comfortably.
Okay, so this is as far as the overall picture of the assembly by-elections is concerned.
Tamil Nadu is interesting.
Yeah, the AIDMK.
What would you make of this? Because of the by-elections,
this is the overall picture, and state by state, by the way, it's also very interesting.
BJP is
we need to get Bihar and UP and Gujarat.
That's right, Congress. But the surprise here is AIDMK.
Yeah.
It held neither of the seats.
That was interesting.
And the OPS, EPS combined is supposed to be not spectacularly good, and yet they won both seats.
Yeah.
One the Congress has lost, the other the DMK has lost.
Okay, this is the UP picture, because the BJP is down just 1, but the SP is the one that's gained 2.
But we mustn't forget that all 4 are fighting separately.
Yeah.
Had there been an SP-BSP alliance,
well, the BSP is nowhere here, and they also have the Apna Dal, which is their own ally.
I mean, that alliance didn't really work in May.
Which means
so
that the SP is still gasping for breath as the opposition.
Interesting story, actually. I'm particularly interested because of my biography of Mayawati. I follow the BSP very closely. And I think that the BSP's decline and Mayawati's popularity going down has also something to do with the Haryana and Maharashtra results, because I think the Congress is getting some Dalit vote back. And I think it's interesting if we look at the Uttar Pradesh elections coming up now, and the BSP's performance in the Uttar Pradesh elections, and its sudden sort of decision to snap this alliance with the Samajwadi Party is an interesting development. So I think lots of things are happening in politics. Leaders who were earlier seemed to have a certain chunk vote may not be that much in control. I have a feeling that Mayawati is in decline.
Right.
And I think the BSP's decline will be.
But I just want to make, what the BJP needs to worry about, what the BJP needs to worry about, I think, just on that earlier point, is that if popular disenchantment and popular disaffection is now affecting electoral outcomes.
Right.
Okay, look, the JDU result in Bihar is another big story. Gilles is back with us. I mean, this is a big blow for Nitish Kumar. Down 3 seats in these by-elections, and the RJD, which was wiped out in the Lok Sabha just a few months ago, is up.
Comatose.
No, and it's a bit unusual because after a strong mandate in a general election, you usually have a spillover effect, and there's not much stakes, you know, with those by-elections. It's a formality. But here the BJP is either holding grounds or actually losing in quite a few places. And most of the winners, once again, tend to be other parties than the Congress. So regional parties, which shows that you still have a lot of potential of resilience for those local and regional forces.
Right.
In fact, Gujarat is the other important state. Can we get the graphic up for Gujarat? Because there were 6 by-elections there, Vasu.
Yeah, and one of those, so the Congress has just gained 1, but one of those who's lost is Alpesh Thakur, who just crossed over to the BJP.
Which is stunning. He had crossed over.
And that was seen as a huge blow to the Congress.
Well, Gujarat Assembly has been a problem for the BJP for some time. Not the Lok Sabha,
at the Assembly
Vidhan Sabha, they're having problems all the time.
2017,
have we done through all the
double digits, 1999.
So let's just look at quickly, run through the last set of by-elections, because I think you had a bunch of seats in Assam as well, Chhattisgarh.
Congress is retaining that. Madhya Pradesh also, the Jhabua by-poll was important for Kamal Nath. I think that also the Congress has won.
But Assam, the BJP is increasing.
These are razor-thin majorities also.
Yeah.
So these
so much like the way the Assembly
and the independent there has won the seat. Himachal, BJP is holding 2. And I think Odisha could be the last. Kerala, this is actually interesting.
You know, this is where the BJP was trying hard.
Is gaining 2,
In the Sabarimala seat, they actually come 3rd. That's one of the seats the
Madhya
Sabarimala
Pradesh also.
But they've failed to score. It's only LDF and UDF.
This was a seat held by the BJP earlier.
Which one?
The Madhya Pradesh one.
Oh, Madhya Pradesh.
Which the Congress has got.
I think this is the Jhabua. Yeah. So that'll help Kamal Nath. I think there was Odisha. I think I don't know if you have.
Yes.
Whether there was one seat in Odisha where
the BJD's won.
Swept. BJD is very happy with that. They've been
really
tweeting and messaging
the BJP candidate.
some 79,000 vote margin.
And if you look at the BJP vote shares, they're actually quite low. In UP, 35% for the BJP is a really low score to obtain, even in a by-election.
Right.
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
But Nidhi, which underlines one factor, and I think this is something we should not forget in all this thing, how much Narendra Modi's personality matters. When it comes to national elections, you know, you immediately come to this prospect of shall we vote Narendra Modi or shall we vote somebody else? And immediately a lot of local factors completely are thrown out of the window. You have this whole thing of all these weaknesses of the BJP get sort of forgotten, and people look at Narendra Modi.
Right.
And there is no question that Narendra Modi himself is covering a lot for the BJP's own fragility.
Right. Let's just let's go across to Sujata Anandan as well, senior journalist joining us from Mumbai. Sujata, what do you make of what do you see happening now in Maharashtra with this very interesting situation where the BJP was almost hoping to shed its sort of pesky frenemy, the Shiv Sena, but I think now they're stuck for the next 5 years in, I don't know, happy, unhappy marriage. How is that going to play out?
The Shiv Sena is not going to give up its needling of the BJP. They are going to extract as much as they can from the party. You know, the BJP had hoped to limit the Sena to about 40-50 seats, in which case and it would have acted like the good boy, but now it is not going to be that. Already there is a hint. Sanjay Raut and and Uddhav Thackeray too have said that they want a 50-50 arrangement. That only means that they will push for 2.5 years of chief ministership. The BJP may not give it to them. I don't think they'll give it to them, but in that case they will extract some better departments and better ministries and the various corporations which are very coveted. Sena is not going to keep quiet. The BJP is stuck with a very meddlesome ally for the next 5 years.
Right.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, Vasu, because it was a very difficult relationship for the last 5 years. Is this Shiv Sena the main opposition to the BJP in Maharashtra? But
well,
not anymore.
actually now you actually have a very strong opposition in the Maharashtra Assembly. So I think now that this will be a different Maharashtra Assembly. It will not be...
And the Haryana Assembly. For that matter.
And the Haryana Assembly.
Going by noise volume, the Shiv Sena is certainly the most vocal and the loudest opposition to to the BJP. And if you look at prior experience of coalition between these two parties in Maharashtra, they will have to sort of divide the spoils, which means that the BJP will have to sort of renounce control, regardless of the formula used to distribute portfolio. They will have to renounce control over large banks, of the government, which would hamper whatever government agenda.
There was some speculation earlier today, Ajoy, whether Mr. Khattar would still continue as Haryana Chief Minister if they do go on to form the government, which is likely. Clearly, the Prime Minister was very clear that he will continue, despite this.
Yes, it seems so. But, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in Haryana still. Because we haven't yet got all the results in. We still don't know.
We have most.
We still, they have
Only
to form the government. And Mr. Khattar, who seemed to be the perfect sort of, person who is with no particular group in the BJP, almost like an outsider, I don't think it's worked all that well, because it seems now that what the kind of, if again going back to our earlier discussion just a few days ago about how Khattar had that great advantage of being an outsider, from the results where he has not been able to get a majority, he'll certainly be much more vulnerable today.
Right. Okay. As we start to wind down, Nidhi, let's do a little bit of crystal ball gazing and try to get a sense from our panel as to what this means now for Indian politics, both in the immediate term with the state elections coming up and looking ahead to a slightly longer window. Starting with you, Amitabh. What is?
I mean, Amitabh, does this election send a message to the opposition that you still have space, therefore use your voice to speak? I mean, do you think it's a cue then for the Congress, for example, to make its voice more loudly heard on issues that matter to people? I mean, the other day the party announced a protest on the economic situation in November. I mean,
actually, it was first scheduled for October.
But then they got busy and so November kar diya. So I'm just saying that do you think this will at least inspire the opposition to look at issues with a greater sense of urgency?
Well, we are a far-sighted party, but I think there's no one will disagree that the message for the opposition, I won't get into the message for the BJP, is that there is space for you even when you're not at a very high level of activity. The people are looking to you for leadership. And I think Haryana in particular is a lost opportunity for the Congress. Perhaps Maharashtra would have been a bridge too far at the moment. So I think it's clear that if you want to win in 2024, you need to get moving now, move ahead, resolve whatever issues are still outstanding. Of course, it's easier said than done. But it's clear that if the Congress party gets its act together, there are victories that are waiting to be taken.
Vivek, if there's one thing you would say that the BJP should change, not ought to do, should change going forward based on today, what would that be?
Yeah, two basic questions are what got us there in Maharashtra and what didn't get us there in Haryana.
Yes, so what was that one change that you would think the BJP ought to do?
I guess one thing that this really puts awakening in us is that we have to be with the people always. And we have to ensure that at the ground level, at the grassroots, we take this agenda of development forward. I think this is the one takeaway from this election, because the Indian voter is constantly judging every politician and every political party. I think this awakening is something that we have to take.
Jain.
Well, I can only repeat what I've said earlier today, that these elections reveal that state matters and therefore also, economic matters, are important, particularly in state elections. And it shows also, it opens a way for a reconstruction of the opposition, which has to be ground up. The Congress seems to have a role to play in that. It depends in large part of how it reacts. It could very well be very complacent and think that just simply waiting and the fruit will fall on its own. So it will have to avoid that attitude and work its relationship with a large number of smaller parties and regional parties across India.
Gaurav, you think politics has opened up after today?
No, I think the point Amitabh made, I think you need regional leaders. The Congress once upon a time had great regional leaders. you can parachute from up there and make a difference, a small difference. But you need to have regional people who are seen as local leaders and not taking G-Azur commands from Delhi. You know, Maharashtra's had great leaders from the Congress. You know, Sharad Pawar was a Congress leader. It has, a lot of good chief ministers. But soon I think the cultures develop whereby it's all from Delhi. And I get the feeling that unless the BJP watches it, the same thing is going to happen to that. As I said, all parties finally boil down to the Congress. So unless you watch it, the desire for national parties to run from the top is very great. And I think unless you resist that, you'll have a problem.
Right.
Got to learn to resist that.
I think first of all, I would say that politics of arrogance cannot further be practiced. One thing. Second thing, local issues in
की बात कर रहे हैं, मत बोलिए.
That is okay. See,
मजाक कर रहे हैं.
and other thing, that the local issues cannot be ignored further. In the name of all the national issues, you cannot win assembly elections.
Right.
All right, so we'll give our commentators the last word. Sagrika.
I think people are desperately looking for an alternative to the BJP. Without an opposition, without a opposition face, still the people have come out and voted for either a local alternative or a state level alternative and have strengthened their hand. Yes, the BJP has won, but I think there's a desperate urge for alternatives. I think people are looking, and I also think that going forward, opposition leaders have got empowered. I see a spring in the step perhaps of Shibu Soren in Jharkhand, or Babulal Marandi, or Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. I think if there's a captain of the ship on the other side, if there's a face on the other side,
then
the opposition has a chance. There's an opposition vote.
Clyde Crasto.
Well, the one takeaway that I can tell you, Vasu, from this is that it's a clear message from the voters. The voters are trying to tell all politicians, all political parties that you cannot take us for granted. You cannot set a narrative that is not true, or you cannot set a narrative that does not border around reality. So I think it's about time everybody realizes that you got to work for the people.
Okay.
And we cannot take the voters for granted anymore.
All
right.
Well, I think there's a difference between the national elections and the assembly polls. And I think that is very important to see this as a federal country. And I think the challenge to the BJP is not going to come from any national party at the moment, but the challenge to the BJP is across the country in different states.
Okay. All right, well, with that, we will call it a day.
We didn't hear your analysis though, but
my analysis is go home, get a good night's sleep. It's been a long day. Most of these guys have been with us since early this morning, braving through yet another election. So we'll see you now for Jharkhand and Delhi. So get ready for that. After the break, we'll actually be paying out Prime Minister Modi's speech at the BJP headquarters this evening. He and Amit Shah spoke to the party workers after these results in Haryana and Maharashtra.